Welcome everyone to the House Committee on Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. It is Thursday, February 29th, 2 p.m. here in Conference Room 325, and we're also running this by video conference as well. We're here for the purposes of considering numerous measures. I'd like to request that those people who are testifying please limit their testimony to 2 minutes. We have many people wishing to testify, so out of deference and respect to everybody, if people could keep your comments to 2 minutes, that would be great. If you're testifying via Zoom, please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify until you're called, and then after your testimony is complete, please mute yourself again and turn your video off. You can use the Zoom chat function to chat with the technical staff if you have issues that are technical issues only. If you're disconnected, don't worry about it. Please rejoin as soon as you can, and I'll try to fit you in to provide testimony when you rejoin us. In the event of electricity going off here in the building or network failure, and if we have to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making, I'll make sure to post appropriate notice. If you're testifying via Zoom, please do not use any trademarked or copyrighted images. And please, everybody here and on Zoom, please conduct yourself with aloha. No profanity or uncivil behavior, please. It's okay to disagree, but let's not be disagreeable. So let's go ahead and get started on the first measure, House Bill 1838 HD1 relating to zoning. This measure allows counties to enact a zoning ordinance to amortize or phase out non-conforming single-family transient vacation rental units over a reasonable period of time. First up, we have testimony from the County of Kauai, Office of the County Clerk, in support. Next, we have testimony in support from the Department of Planning and Permitting, City and County of Honolulu. Next, we have testimony in support from Honolulu City Council member Esther Kia'aina. Next, we have testimony in opposition from Hawaii Realtors. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lindsay Garcia on behalf of the Hawaii Realtors. So we oppose this measure respectfully. We do support legal short-term rentals. We support the county's ability to have reasonable regulations and to enforce those regulations. We do have concerns with this proposal granting the counties the power to phase out short-term rentals, as it carries the risk of significant reduction of tax revenue for the state. Legal short-term rentals with law-abiding owners generate revenue for the state and the counties through real property taxes, GET and TAT. Granting counties the power to amortize or phase out legal short-term rentals punishes law-abiding owners who contribute to our local economy. Similarly, this bill would not make an impact on the county's ability to enforce on those who are not abiding by the law. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you for testifying. Next, we have testimony support from Lahaina Strong. Please proceed on Zoom. Introduce yourself,
Aloha.
please. Thank you.
Aloha, this is Jordan Reedus. Aloha, Chair Tarnas, Vice Chair Takayama, and esteemed members of the committee. As a representative of Lahaina Strong, an organization with over 20,000 supporters, we are deeply committed to supporting the Lahaina community through these times of crisis. I implore you to consider the urgent need for HB 1838 HD1. At its core, HB 1838 HD1 empowers counties to phase out non-conforming single-family transient vacation rental units over a reasonable period. This measure aligns with our organization's mission as well as the recommendations of the House of Representatives Shelter Working Group. This bill would be crucial for communities like Lahaina, where the impact of short-term rental vacation rentals on housing availability and affordability is profound. It recognizes the importance of local control in address to our dire housing issues. It's crucial to clarify that transient vacation rentals are not considered residential use. They oftentimes remove housing units from the long-term rental market, further exacerbating the current housing crisis. Therefore, any phase-out authority must extend to all TVRs, including condominium units that were once part of our long-term rental market. Maui is currently facing a multifaceted housing emergency compounded by the aftermath of the fires and other recent challenges, including FEMA and state paying exorbitant rates to house fire survivors. The need for immediate action cannot be overstated. HB 1838 HD1 provides a crucial opportunity to address this pressing issue and provide dignified housing options for Lahaina residents who have already endured significant hardships. We stand firm behind this bill and urge legislature to pass HD 1838 HD1. By passing this legislation, you will not only support Lahaina, but also contribute to the well-being of communities across Maui facing similar housing challenges. Your commitment to addressing these issues is deeply appreciated and will have a lasting impact on the lives of those affected. Mahalo.
May I get your name again, please, ma'am?
Yes, I'm sorry, Jordan Ruiz.
Jordan Ruiz. Thank you so much. Appreciate your testimony.
Mahalo, of course.
Next, we have testimony from the Rental by Owner Awareness Association. Please proceed. On Zoom. Introduce yourself, please.
Aloha, this is Alicia Humiston. We stand by our testimony and are here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony in support from Housing Hawaii's Future. Mr. Sterling Higa. Not present? Not present. Next, we have testimony in opposition from Pacific View. Mary Ann Schober. Next, we have testimony from Loving Goodness, from Julie Hoheb. Okay. Next, we have testimony from Airbnb, Joseph Stewart. Welcome. You have the floor. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My partner David Louie and I submitted lengthy testimony expressing the concerns that we have with the language in HB 1838 HD1, specifically that the purpose of Section 46-4 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes is essentially to codify existing protections that are in the Hawaii and United States constitutions. In addressing and changing those effectively, you wouldn't be changing the source protections in terms of the Constitution. You would not be addressing the illegal short-term industry at all. What you're doing essentially would be trying to allow the counties to take what is currently a legal use and making it an illegal use. The problem with that is that it violates a number of, or implicates at least a number of constitutional provisions, including the takings clauses of the United States and Hawaii Constitution. The standard for regulatory taking essentially is that if you eliminate a use or reduce a use that has been permitted, then the property owner is entitled to just compensation. There is no framework for that in this bill. And so we believe that there would be some significant concerns that would be addressed by any subsequent enactment by the counties that would change or alter or reduce the existing permitted legal use of rentals as contemplated by the amendments in HB 1838. Additionally, we think that there would be potential issues in terms of the distinctions that are made as far as treating shorter-term rentals versus longer-term rentals in different classifications. There could be issues of equal protection as well as the laws of general applicability provision of the Hawaii State Constitution. We also believe that when you look at how Hawaii courts have looked at this, including in the most recent Hawaii Federal District Court case.
You could summarize, please.
They've identified short-term, that rentals should be looked at by the character of the use, not by the duration. And so to characterize short-term rentals as not a residential use, we believe would not be consistent with applicable law. I'm here for any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next, we have representative of the Realtor Association of Maui, Lynette Pendergast. Please proceed on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair Tarnas, Vice Chair Takayama, and members of the committee. My name is Lynette Pendergast, President-elect of the Realtor Association of Maui, RAM, the voice of real estate on Maui, and its over 2,000 members. RAM opposes House Bill 1838 HD1, which allows counties to enact a zoning ordinance to amortize or phase out non-conforming single-family transit vacation rental units over a reasonable period of time. RAM supports access to housing for every need or situation, which includes legal short-term rentals, the HTRs. Per Mayor Richard Bisson's presentation at the Ways and Means Committee meeting on February 20th, 2024, the county received 1,600 conversions of STRs to long-term rentals, to house wildfire victims by the first week of February, 1,034 of which were short-term rental owners in West Maui. There does not appear to be a need to grant additional powers to the counties to phase out legal STRs. We have concerns with this proposal granting the counties the powers to phase out short-term rentals, as it carries the risk of a significant reduction in tax revenue for the state. Legal STRs with law-abiding owners generate revenue for the state and the counties through real property taxes, GET and TAT. Maui County's housing challenges are long-standing, and the focus should be on building more housing supply that are appropriate for local families. In January 2024, Maui County passed Bill 38 to increase affordable housing inventory by modifying criteria for accessory dwelling units. This funding would end through the Homeowners Program Revolving Fund. This will help, it behooves us to allow time to weigh the outcome of this recent legislation. For the foregoing reasons, the Realtors Association of Maui opposes this measure. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from the Oahu Short-Term Rental Alliance, Michael He. Please proceed on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair Tarnas, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. The Oahu Short-Term Rental Alliance, OSTRA, represents thousands of residents who own, manage, and work within the legal, mid, and short-term rental industry, and we strongly oppose this bill. Our President, Kelly Lee, submitted this as written testimony, and I'm here to provide it verbally as I'm a co-director of OSTRA with her. Our rentals provide over 13,000 living wage jobs that support property managers, cleaners, contractors, and their families. Short-term rentals on Oahu provided $46 million in taxes and fees towards the state budget in 2022 and contributed $165 million towards the county budget. We believe you will also oppose HB 1838 when you understand the immediate implications for housing, local jobs, the economy, and tax revenue for Hawaii. What Hawaii needs most is clear, consistent, fair rules for businesses to thrive. Instead, this bill would have each county able to eliminate existing property rights without compensation, so making it legal for the counties to do what would now be considered an illegal taking of private property. The most likely result of this will be confusion, lawsuits, and illegal attempts by county officials to eliminate productive, legal, and tax-generating businesses. OSTRA supports the legal rentals and will work to make compliance clear and easy. Unfortunately, it appears that the inability of the Honolulu Department and County of Planning and Permitting to enforce existing regulations before passing new regulations has resulted in continued illegal activity. Please do not pass this bill that would allow the county to further erode an essential right and component of housing for our residents and important visitors. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have testimony from the West Hawaii Association of Realtors, Kristen Moreland. Please proceed on Zoom.
Aloha, members of the Committee of Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs and Honorable Chair Tarnas. My name is Jason Iser, and I am testifying in place of Kristen Moreland on behalf of the West Hawaii Association of Realtors. Mahalo for allowing me the opportunity to testify today. West Hawaii Association of Realtors is testing on behalf of its over 950 members and affiliated business partners in opposition to House Bill 1838, House Draft 1. I will stand on my written testimony in the interest of time and just make one quick remark. We have concerns that this proposed measure would allow the county to eliminate an entire segment of our housing market. Short and mid-term rentals are a unique product in the marketplace and allow the flexibility that guests, families, and renters alike greatly appreciate. These folks may not want or be able to afford the high cost of a hotel stay. Short and mid-term rentals are a solution and a legitimate part of the housing needs on Hawaii Island. Again, thank you for your time and opportunity to testify today.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from High Mast Alliance, Jennifer Wilkinson. On Zoom.
Aloha, Chair Tarnas, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Wilkinson, Vice President of High Mast. That is the Hawaii Mid and Short-Term Rental Alliance, and we are testifying in opposition to House Bill 1838. Our nonprofit, locally led organization represents the interests of the legal short and midterm rental operators and owners across the state. We're licensed where required, pay our taxes, renew our permits in accordance with the law. We are recognized as legitimate businesses in our counties and contribute substantially to our local economy in both creating jobs and livable wages and contributing to the county and state revenues. What I really wanted to focus on today is the often forgotten and understated contribution we make to our communities in the real and necessary option of temporary housing for locals. Individuals like construction workers, traveling nurses, teachers, and even agricultural workers use short and midterm rentals when traveling for work. Locals who travel to receive medical care are relocating for work, remodeling their homes, or need temporary housing when their home is being tented. These individuals use short and midterm rentals as well. Young folks in school, military, or starting out without a rental history or enough funds to furnish an entire apartment, they use short-term and midterm rentals. And even locals traveling to visit Ohana on other side of the island or a neighbor island, they use short-term rentals to be close to their families without the need to travel or pay for high nightly rates. Finally, and perhaps most poignantly, we offer an option for housing when disaster strikes, and there's an immediate need for a variety of housing solutions. So beyond hospitality, mid and short-term rentals fill a real need in our community and are a vital part of a healthy, rounded housing ecosystem. On behalf of the 39,000 short and midterm rental owners across the state, I urge you to defer 1838, and we continue to offer our collaboration in the creation of real long-term solutions to address our ongoing housing crisis. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have Councilmember Keani Rollins Fernandez from Maui County. Please proceed on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair Takayama, and honorable committee members. I'm Councilmember Keani Rollins Fernandez. Mahalo for scheduling HB 1838 and for this opportunity to testify in strong support of it today. I respectfully urge you to consider my two suggested amendments in my written testimony. The first proposed amendment addresses the fact that many vacation rentals that were once long-term housing units are condo units, not single-family dwellings. The second proposed amendment adds language that explicitly reaffirms the legislature's position that TVR use is not residential use. I ask that this committee continue to honor and support the home rule authority provided to the counties relating to zoning as stated in section 46-4A HRS to ensure that we are able to guide the overall future development in a manner our communities deem fit. As we all know, the $1 million per day cost of using hotels and resorts as shelter is not sustainable. Our Maui County Administration and Council have been working hard together, trying our best to transition residents from resorts to long-term housing by offering to waive property taxes in exchange for the use of their units. Mahalo to those who have stepped forward, but not enough have, and offering TVR owners $5,000 for a one-bedroom, $7,000 for a two-bedroom, $9,000 for a three-bedroom, and $11,000 for a four-bedroom has the community questioning who the government is truly serving. The Lahaina fire simply brought to light what we have known for years. The systemic housing crisis has exacerbated the disparity we're seeing today, where tourists and investors compete with our residents for housing. We must correct this injustice. Opponents of this bill will claim that it is unconstitutional. However, the federal court in Flint v. County of Kauai stated that a regulation does not constitute a taking under the Fifth Amendment if the regulation does not deny a landowner all economically viable use of their property and if the regulation substantially advances a government interest. But regardless, the legal analysis on takings is not necessary for this hearing. HB 1838 is not unconstitutional. This measure doesn't automatically phase out TVRs. It would simply empower each county to determine what is in the public good for their respective county. Please pass it out of committee today. Mahalo again for this opportunity to testify in strong support. I'll be here for questions if there are any. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from KOSTRO, Edward Jones. Is that you, sir?
Yes, Mahalo, Chair Tarnas, members of the committee. My name is Ed Jones. We represent owner-occupied renting on this island of Oahu. We are regulated by the state landlord-tenant code and are in opposition to this bill. What this bill would do is enable Honolulu Ordinance 22-7, and inside of that bill is a provision for a $10,000 fine. So I wanted to shed some light on what that means. If Auntie is maintaining her listing, she may not be a technical giant when she's on the Airbnb platform. She can easily make a mistake on a setting. The county's going to come along in response to that with their automated software and slap her with a $10,000 fine. Sometimes she might get warning, sometimes she might not. But what that is intimidation against a resident of this county. $10,000 fine by any reasonable assessment is an excessive fine, but yet it is in place and it is practiced by the county. So what I'm asking is that this bill be deferred until we reach a point where our zoning ordinances are modified to be fair, to assess fair fines, not put liens on people's homes for minor offenses and the like. I understand the plight of Maui and a terrible tragedy of that fire, but this bill is not a solution to that. I appreciate your time in considering this bill. We recommend it be deferred at this time. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have testimony from the Honolulu Board of Realtors, Jennifer Andrews. Please proceed on Zoom.
Thank you. Aloha, Chair Tarnas and Vice Chair Takayama and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Andrews. I'm the chair of the HBR Honolulu Board of Realtors City Affairs Committee, and this is oral testimony and complementary to the written testimony submitted by Suzanne Young, the CEO of the Honolulu Board of Realtors. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in opposition to HB 1838, HD1, which allows the counties to enact a zoning ordinance to amortize non-conforming single-family transient vacation rental units. The Honolulu Board of Realtors, on behalf of our over 6,700 members and its City Affairs Committee, would like to offer context to our opposition to HB 1838 HD1. Transient vacation rentals, also known as TVRs, are lodging that provide guest accommodations for less than 30 consecutive days. To preserve housing for long-term residents, TVRs are only permitted in resort zone areas and those that have been issued a non-conforming use certificate, or NUC, or as DPP refers to as a NUC. These are grandfathered TVRs that have been in operation since prior to October 22nd, 1986, and no new NUCs have been issued. According to the City and County of Honolulu's list of NUCs issued, there are a total of 785 NUCs, with over 600 of those 785 located in the resort area of Waikiki. Ultimately, HB 1838 HD1 would phase out only 103 NUCs issued in non-resort residential areas on Oahu. And with the legislation only applying to single-family units, it would be even less than 103. As such, this measure will not garner a significant conversion to long-term use and instead risk legal challenges for these grandfathered properties on the basis that pre-existing lawful uses of property are generally considered to be vested rights that zoning ordinances may not revoke. We continue to strongly support enforcement measures that address the illegal short-term rentals that exist and negatively impact our residential communities. Mahalo for your opportunity to oppose this measure, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have testimony from Airbnb, Alex April. Welcome. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Mahalo for the opportunity to give public testimony today. My name is Alex April. We oppose this bill. I stand by my written comments, but I do just want to, again, point the fact to the potential fiscal impacts that this bill would have on the state's budget. According to HTA, the short-term rental industry generated $132.6 million in TAT in 2018 alone. And in 2022, Airbnb hosts generated approximately $77 million in GET and TET to the state of Hawaii. So I'm around if you have any questions, and again, mahalo.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Maui Vacation Rental Association, Caitlyn Miller. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for taking the time to review this bill and take testimony. My name is Caitlyn Miller, and I represent the Maui Vacation Rental Association. This verbal testimony is to support our written testimony. MVRA represents thousands of residents who own, manage, and work within the legal short-term rental industry, and we strongly oppose House Bill 1838. To be clear, MVRA supports fair taxation and regulations of vacation rental properties. However, we see many issues with HB 1838. Short-term rentals are one of the only ways local families can directly participate in and benefit from the hospitality industry. The clear differentiation regarding legal short-term rentals versus hotels is that thousands are owned by Maui County families and thousands more are employed directly or indirectly by the industry. Did you know that short-term rentals provide an estimated 18,000 jobs in Maui County and close to 49,000 across the state of Hawaii? These jobs include cleaners, property managers, contractors, landscapers and their families, as well as supporting other industries such as electricians, plumbers, handymen, and more. Additionally, all small businesses such as restaurants, grocery stores, gift shops, and activities are all supported by these legal businesses. These local residents and voters who are directly and indirectly employed by short-term rentals help support our local community through their contributions to other small businesses, as well as contributing their talents and skills to community-based organizations, like the contractor who coaches co-ed flag football, or the short-term rental owner who coaches Keiki soccer, the cleaner who helps fundraise for their Keiki school, and the property manager who volunteers with local nonprofits. All of these people matter. Where is the data that shows those impacts? What will happen to those residents who no longer have a source of income? How many jobs and taxes would be potentially lost with a measure like this? In Maui County, the short-term rental classification generated 40% of real property tax revenue this fiscal year, which is $213.7 million. This amount represents just under 20% of the county operating budget. This year, the county increased their budget by $102 million, and 52% of that increase came from increased revenue in the TVR/short-term rental category. Short-term rentals in Maui County will contribute $13.4 million in revenue to the Affordable Housing Fund, the largest contribution of all the classifications and the largest contribution to date. Over the last 5 years, the short-term rental industry on Maui has generated $45 million for the Affordable Housing Fund. When it comes to legislation that could affect the livelihood of thousands and of its constituents and actual voters, the state should be considering the factual and data-driven decisions. We would like to address the numbers that have been quoted recently regarding short-term rentals in Maui County. There are 13,744 legal short-term rentals. We recognize the need for short and long-term housing solutions. Please allow MVRA and the county alliances to be a part of the solution through a task force that brings all parties together. What Hawaii needs most is clear, consistent, fair rules for businesses to thrive. The most likely result of this bill will be confusion, litigation, and illegal attempts by county officials to eliminate productive legal tax and local job-generating businesses. Thank you for taking the time to hear our testimony. We are happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting. I didn't know how long you were going to keep going. Thank you. Next, we have testimony from the Hawaii Legal Short-Term Rental Alliance, Gregory Hugall.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. My name is Greg Hugall. I'm an attorney at Damon Key, and I represent the Hawaii Legal Short-Term Rental Alliance, which was the plaintiff in the case that's been discussed a lot recently that involved invalidation of portions of Honolulu's Ordinance 22-7 in federal court. I stand by my written testimony, which was submitted. I do apologize that it was misaddressed to yourselves, but I make a few points there. One is that HB 1838 will change state law, but it can't change and won't override the Constitution. And the Constitution itself, as has been recognized by Hawaii's appellate courts, clearly says that pre-existing lawful uses of land are vested rights, are protected by the due process clauses and the takings clause of both the Hawaii and the U.S. Constitution. So a statutory change alone will do nothing to address the problem that the counties are advocating for. Secondly, as I point out, and as the federal district court found in the Hillstra lawsuit, short-term rentals, legal short-term rentals, are used by Hawaii residents of all types. You heard some testimony about that earlier today. People traveling between islands for medical care, for social activities, military, traveling nurses, and the like. People need to stay in homes rather than hotel rooms in Waikiki for events such as that. You've also heard on the economic impacts that this area has on the state and on the counties. We've got some of those numbers as well. They're massive, and I won't repeat those. I would point out that when 46.4 was amended in 1980, residential use was put sacrosanct in that bill, and that's now in statute, and that is that you cannot use the zoning power to take away pre-existing residential uses.
You can summarize, please.
Yes, I will. So finally, I say that that if this bill or one similar to it is passed, it will simply generate litigation that has been going on in the federal courts and in the state courts. And so we therefore ask that you defer the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have testimony from the Hawaii Hotel Alliance, Mr. Jerry Gibson.
Aloha, Chair Tarnas, Vice Chair Takayama, and honorable members of the House Committee. My name is Jerry Gibson, President of the Hawaii Hotel Alliance, expressing our unwavering support for HB 1838. The legislation is crucial in addressing the negative impact of short-term rentals in Hawaii, an issue that demands immediate attention. While hotels contribute significantly to our communities, providing employment and tax revenue, the unchecked growth of STRs has hindered efforts to address affordable housing needs. Despite past legislative efforts, the number of STR units continues to rise, reaching alarming levels on Maui, 12% of all housing units, and Kauai, 14%. HB 1838 presents an opportunity to rectify this situation. By eliminating STRs and third-party illegal rental sites, we can reclaim housing for our people. The legislation offers a tangible solution to bring down housing prices, establish a reasonable pricing structure, and transform misappropriated housing into homes for our communities. In the aftermath of the devastation in Lahaina, the urgency to act is clear. On Maui, we have the means to deactivate third-party sites and providing housing for thousands. The Hawaii Hotel Alliance stands united with our members, employees, hotel unions, and the people of Hawaii, urging the swift passage of this critical legislation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Richard Fernandez. Not present on Zoom? Okay. Next, we have Martine Foster on Zoom. Please proceed.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Thank you for allowing me to speak on HB 1838. My name is Martine Foster, and I oppose HB 1838. I raised my children here in Hawaii. I taught for 26 years in the UH system, and my former husband and I bought our home here in Hawaii. After the divorce, I chose to stay in the home I love amongst my good neighbors and my dear friends. This is the home where my sons stay when they visit me. And that is the reason I rent short-term. I want my sons to be able to come home. That's important to me. I own one piece of property in Hawaii with one structure on it. It's simple, one front door to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I rent short-term one of the bedrooms my sons used to occupy. Many of my guests have been students, nurses, medical interns on rotation, Oahu residents in transition, and former Hawaii residents returning to visit their ohana. I've enjoyed providing a home for them and getting to know them. Renting one bedroom in my home has made it more manageable for me to pay the mortgage, property taxes, and utility bills. As a single divorced retiree on a fixed income, I see HB 38 as a blunt tool. Yes, providing enough affordable housing in Hawaii is a serious problem, without doubt. That is exactly why we rent, so we can make ends meet. Taking that option away does not add affordable housing when we're simply trying to hold on to our home. Hawaii's housing problem will not be solved by forcing some homeowners to give up their homes in order for others to have them. And
Please summarize.
who's to say?
Please summarize, ma'am.
Okay, I would like to see a bill that includes an exemption that allows individuals and couples who reside in their homes to supplement their income by renting a room or two in their own home. I and others like me are part of your community. We are your neighbors, your friends, and your family. Please keep that in mind as you legislate. Please vote against HB 1838. Please create legislation that does not replace one homeowner with another homeowner. Please help all of Hawaii's residents thrive in Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Thomas Gamez on Zoom, not present, okay? Next, we have James Harbour on Zoom.
They are present, but are indicated via text chat. They are experiencing technical issues. They'd like to stand on their written testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Harbour. Next, we have Fatima Lobo on Zoom. Not present, thank you. Next, we have Alejandra Penzo on Zoom. Not present, thank you. Next, Sam Tamayo. In person? Not present. Okay. Next, we have Montan Roxbuter. In person? Not present. Next, we have Cynthia Rubenstein on Zoom. Please proceed.
Present. I'm going to try to summarize, but the issue before this body mainly due to non-enforcement of illegal offenders. Had the law worked as it was supposed to, there would not have been thousands of these short-term rentals, and rents for the then limited long-term would not have escalated to the degree that they have. The answer to this problem is enforcement. The other serious problem, at least on Oahu, is a residential aid tax bracket, which covers essentially all of our long-term rentals, as those with home exemption are the homes that owners live in, leaving those without the home exemption to be our long-term market. And every year we have to raise the rents because that goes up higher and higher. What I'm saying here is that the city and the state have caused us to come to this point. Try enforcing the law to free up places for people to live rather than cutting off a very viable income-producing field. You have already chased away many of our host culture by not enforcing these laws, since that is what is responsible for the high cost of housing here. And we have recently been talking about how much income loss that has created. Now you're looking to toss more. It's basically insanity. All you have to do is stop this merry-go-round, is enforce what exists, instead of creating more laws that you won't be able to enforce. Not enough manpower, blah, blah, blah. And I do think that you need to split these issues. The people of Lahaina who have suffered so severely from what has gone on that which is my own mother island, deserve preferential treatment and not to be grouped with a massive issue like this that we've been fighting for years. It's not fair to them. And the last thing is, Greg Hugall is right. We have vested property rights. And if you're going to change the law, everyone who bought their property before that law changes has to be offered a non-conforming use certificate. It's a constitutional issue. So you have multiple things going on here, and I think you need to sort it out better. And I suggest maybe you hire Mr. Hugall, because the city attorneys advised the city incorrectly on the last issue. And when it went to the higher court.
Thank you for your testimony. Could you summarize, please?
I'm done.
Oh, you're done. Okay. That was a very kind referral that you gave to an attorney.
Well, he did a good job.
I got it. I appreciate that. Appreciate your vote of confidence for. Thank you, Ms. Rubenstein. Moving on, we have testimony from Dan Lace on Zoom. Please proceed.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, sorry, my video does not seem to be working, so I'll just offer verbal testimony. I've submitted written testimony as well. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My wife and I own a home near Pahoa on the Big Island that we provide full-time living accommodations for my mother-in-law. We also use part of the home to host Airbnb guests. This is an on-site hosted legal rental. We have been able to realize a dream with providing housing for our ohana while also saving a little money with a hosted rental to help offset our mortgage and also accomplish another dream of running our own business. We practice Pono, embrace the aloha spirit with all of our guests, neighbors, and community. We pride ourselves helping our guests understand and respect the local culture, to respect the land, sea, and air as they visit. We encourage patronage of local businesses, provide written and virtual guides and places to eat and visit and experience all over the island, but in particular, the small community of Pahoa, which does not benefit from resort areas or other island guests. Our guests all comment on how much they enjoy our local recommendations and are so grateful to learn about the local culture they would not experience otherwise. As such, we simply aim to provide opportunity to our family to live in spirit with the island among our guests. We make sure all guests follow all Airbnb rules, plus our own additional house rules that respect our neighbors' privacy. We oppose phasing out all short-term vacation rental homes as proposed, and we also oppose raising fees on vacation rental properties. Thank you for your time and listening to my comments.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Keoni Shizuma on Zoom. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify on this bill. Stand in support of this bill, and I wanted to mention that I did submit written testimony speaking to community relationships and community building, which really doesn't occur much when transient visitors are coming in and out. But I'll leave that portion to my written testimony. But I did want to add in that I did hear a variety of folks commenting on, income producing by renting and making a living or supplementing their monies by having transient rentals. And I did want to say, I understand the high cost of living in Hawaii, but income can definitely be produced with long-term housing as well. So instead of it being a short-term rental or vacation rental, that maybe it'd be better served or better used as a long-term rental. Also, I hear the argument of that short-term rentals provide jobs. But I think that they're missing one fact is that, we have a lot of workers who need homes. So instead of housing short-term rentals, we could, again, turn those into long-term rentals in which to provide housing for our workers who we are trying to provide jobs for. Mahalo for your time and opportunity to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Karen O'Mahony on Zoom. Not present. Thank you. Next, we have Leonard Mangalinden on Zoom. Please proceed. Please, yes, go ahead, we hear you.
Yes, sorry about that, yes. Hi, let me see, good afternoon and aloha to all. First of all, thank you for allowing me to express my opinion on Bill HB 1838. My name is Leonard Mangalinden. My wife and I purchased a property in Maui in 2022. Currently, our property is on a short-term rental program. We are saving the money we net for our retirement. In the near future, our plan is to permanently move to Maui and become residents and enjoy beautiful Hawaii. Now, I've submitted testimony outlining reasons for the opposition of Bill 1838. Please take a look at your convenience. The existence of short-term rentals, in my opinion, is not the problem. STRs have become an industry that's created small businesses that employ locals. Small businesses are the backbone of many communities. It has also become a major source of revenue for the county and state. SDRs produce 40% of the real property tax revenue for the county, as well as being the top funding source for affordable housing. STR property tax revenue represents 18% of the county's $1.7 billion budget. Now, if SDRs are phased out, where will that revenue come from? Will this require raising additional taxes to make up for the huge revenue loss? That will, in essence, be kind of self-inflicted. Also, by eliminating SDRs, hotels will have a monopoly in the tourism industry, and they can raise prices at their discretion. Eliminating SDRs is not the solution. It will only create new problems. And I want to repeat that. It will only create new problems. By eliminating revenue for the county and state, eliminate jobs, close small businesses, and hurt the housing market and also negatively impact tourism. Also, eliminating SDRs is not the solution to provide housing availability. The main issue is the shortage of affordable homes, and this is separate. I highly suggest the government explore a solution that will encourage the development of new homes instead, perhaps by encouraging investments from the private sector or public sector that will benefit local communities from new homes built.
Please summarize, thank you.
Yes, now everyone is saddened by the effects of the Lahaina fires. We all sympathize for the victims. I believe that this issue should be addressed separately and not use the elimination of SDRs as a solution. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have testimony from Stay Kunkel on Zoom. Not present, thank you. Next, we have testimony from Stephen Gatchell on Zoom. Okay, thank you. Next, we have testimony from Tyler Melling on Zoom. Not present. Next, we have testimony from Virginia Dudden on Zoom. Not present. Is that person, who's that person? Oh, that's, okay. Next, we have testimony from Elizabeth Ray.
Aloha.
Please proceed.
Aloha. Aloha. My name is Elizabeth Ray. I wanted to say aloha and thank you all who introduced and will pass this bill. This is necessary in reconstructing our housing crisis on the island of Maui for its local residents that help to self-sustain the Aina and their community. I say many threats to our Aina posted on the government website, threats to our Aina about Maui land, and the threats to it included west side traffic congestion as our highway is at overcapacity to locals and tourists. The threat of outside state home buying relating to the affordability of homes to local workers in the community and the preservation of agricultural lands owned by the state. So I propose to amend this bill and make into effect immediately to phase out STRs and provide less tourism west side as our families rebuild, educate our children, work self-sustaining jobs to our Aina and community. Hotels are for the tourists. Homes should be long-term rentals or family dwellings, single family dwellings. There have been 26 suicides, no healthcare clinics remain, no funding to rebuild them.
Not the solution.
So I am just saying, take care of our Hawaiians, the stewards of this land. The land that was stolen 100 years ago, and to this day, there is no treaty. You call it mercy, call it love, call it God, but please amend and pass this bill. I have no compassion for the homeowners with STRs, who gave them the right to house out the locals and to house tourists as a priority, or people with money. I am a teacher. I have lots of teacher friends teaching Lahaina that are homeless, okay? Lots of people
Thank you.
that.
Please summarize, that'd be great.
That'd be great to summarize. I'm just saying, you guys need to pass this bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Okay, if I could remind the Zoom testifiers that if you could mute yourself and turn off your video after your testimony, that would be great. Mr. Mangalan.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Next, we have Junya Nakoa on Zoom. Please proceed. You could unmute yourself and proceed, that'd be great. Sir, if you could unmute yourself. Oh, cannot hear you. Sorry, we cannot hear you, sir. Sir, I'm not able to hear you. Sorry, it's something at your end. Yeah, our technical staff is not able to fix it. I'm so sorry, sir. Now we hear you.
Hear me?
Yes, yes. We hear you. Okay, please proceed.
Okay, but Junior Nako from Lahaina. Yeah, you know all those bloggers, they just been testify. They financially going to gain from this, yeah, from the short term, staying short term. Us guys, we getting jammed up over here in Lahaina. Okay, the people of Lahaina, throughout this whole thing, I've been involved with this whole thing since August 9th. Okay, I tried to build temporary homes, but all kind of red tape from the county level, and FEMA go if, ands, or buts. So we started to take presence here in Kanapali because we wanted to turn the short term to long term. And your guys is governor, okay? He said it was BS. I don't like to swear, but I might get scoldings. He said it was BS, right? That the people don't even live here that owns the long term here in Lahaina. Yeah, we're getting cracks. I live here in Lahaina all my life. And we gotta deal with tourism over here. Okay? We take cracks from tourism. We gotta deal with traffic. We gotta deal with people who disrespect our ocean. We gotta deal with people who disrespect our culture. But you know, we still be nice. We still get aloha. We still give it all we got. Okay? But who does benefit from our kindness? Hawaiian kindness. All these people who own property here that don't even live here. So we gotta correct that. You're like 80-some% of these people in Lahaina, okay, that percent that own Lahaina, that owns all the property here in Lahaina. I've been fighting for affordable housing, workforce housing, for 27 years. Okay, we gave up our Kanapali Beach, Kanapali North Beach, for the promise that you guys are going to give us all this affordable workforce housing, and we never get nothing. We got zero. Now all we're trying to do is use this little entity, which is turning short term into long term. Okay, that is an easy something, and then you know what? If the thing is, how I'm gonna say this? Well, I'll be nice, but I don't like to be nice.
If you could summarize, Mr. Nakoa, if you could summarize, that'd be great.
Summarize them. I support okay, this bill. I support this bill. I'm a Kanaka from Lahaina. All these other people, they're not from Lahaina. Yeah, please do the right thing and give the county the power to make it right. Okay, mahalo. You guys have a great day.
Mahalo,
I'm
Mr.
gonna have one after these, brother.
Mahalo, Mr. Nakoa. Mahalo. Thank you. Now, that's everyone that has said that they wish to testify on Zoom or in person. Is there anyone else in the room here wishing to testify on House Bill 1838? One person. Okay, yes, ma'am. Come on up and the podium here and introduce yourself and proceed.
Excuse me, Chair. I didn't get called on Zoom.
If you could wait just one moment, and then I'll come to you. And we have one person in the room here, and then I'll come to you. Thank you. Please proceed, ma'am.
Aloha, awinala, kako. I'm Margaret Oran. I'm a third-generation resident of this island that is involved in public service after retirement. My father retired on a substantial pension. I didn't. I'm 81 years old, and I'm trying to survive on my short-term rental. It provides a lot of money to this county. For the last normal year we had, 2019, I paid $55,000 in taxes. That is property, get, and tat. I paid $155,000 in operating expenses to all of the service people that helped me have a 5-star rental. The guests that come to Oahu spend $201 per day when they're here. That's on meals, souvenirs, whatever. All right? If you multiply the tourist days from people who stayed in my property during that year, and you add in my operating expenses and my taxes, this is not my income, mind you. All right, this is what my one auntie's old property contributes to the island of Oahu's economy. Are you ready for the figure? $625,000 from one little old auntie's house. And the Hawaii Tourist Authority just put out a report. They said that short-term renting in Hawaii is a $6 billion, with a B, dollar industry. It supports 46,000, I heard 49,000 earlier, 46,000 jobs. All right? And I'm in the trenches, I know it does. All right, so I support, I strongly oppose this bill because it will take out what is a wholesome, grassroots cottage industry in Hawaii. All right? That is what we are, and those of us, I'm with Kostro, Kama'aina occupied short-term rentals Oahu.
Thank you.
When the owner is on the property, you don't have noise. When the owner is on the property, it isn't ever on the market. My house hasn't been on the market for 50 years. And if this bill passes, I will probably be forced to sell a home beloved of 5 generations of my family and move to the mainland. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Now, I have 5 individuals on Zoom that I understand wanted to give testimony. Let's move to them next. Nobody else in the room here? I said, I'll come back to you if you would. So one more person in the room here. Got 5 on Zoom. Okay, Laura Bollinger on Zoom, please proceed.
Aloha. Thank you all. I did submit written testimony. I hope you got it. If you didn't, please ask me to send it again or something. But I, too, am a STVR owner, and I moved to Kona in 1974, and I fell in love with a MacNut farmer, and I raised my 2 kids for a couple of years with him, 5 years until we divorced. So I was a single mom raising 2 kids in Hawaii with no financial support of any kind. I had to, I almost had to go on welfare a couple times. I avoided it. And the third time I went with my 2 kids, and we went in there, and when the lady asked me, you know, how she could help me, I said, I'm here to apply for support. And she gave me a little thing. She said, okay, your name. And I choked up. I couldn't say my name because I believe in supporting myself, supporting my family. I don't like being a burden on anyone else, the county, the state, anyone. So I couldn't talk. So we went out. My son was crying around my waist, my daughter around my thigh, and I was crying. So we shuffled out. It was a very, very difficult time. I managed to avoid going on any kind of assistance by being a clown. And I did children's parties, balloon animals and things like that. My business turned into Encore Talent Agency, which provided jobs for, you know, hundreds of people, just temporary jobs in Kona and Hilo. And that was great. And I was finally able to for the first time to own my own house and in Pu'ukala. And I was able to get a loan and do all that stuff. I never thought I'd be able to. My son told me that we lived in 13.
If you could please summarize, Ms. Bollinger.
My son told me that we had 13 different houses before we were able to get that house. I'm 73 years old. This STVR pays my mortgage and the bills in Kona. I had to come to the mainland to take care of my elderly parents who are in their 90s. And as soon as I'm done taking care of them, I want to move back to my home. But I need to have this income, and I would appreciate you're not phasing out short-term rentals. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have Sean Brady on Zoom. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Sean Brady, and I strongly oppose HB 1838. I stand by my written testimony. A little about myself. My wife and I were both born and raised here on the windward side of Oahu and have been trying for many years to afford to purchase a home in my hometown of Kailua. With the skyrocketing costs of real estate on the windward side, I decided to take my life savings and use it to purchase an investment condo rather than a primary home for my family as a means to earn some additional return on our investment. I thought this investment would ultimately allow our family to earn enough income to purchase our primary home, as well as to provide a wonderful experience to our guests as local hosts. I know firsthand how sensitive residential communities can be towards rentals in our islands, which is why the resort zone in Waikiki is where we decided to purchase. The building where I purchased my condo is primarily used for short-term rentals directly by the owners. We have no hotel affiliation. The other owners in the building are just like me, local folks who live here and purchase their units as small business investments. Every single one of us pays thousands upon thousands of dollars each quarter in GE, TAT, and resort zone property taxes diligently, and work very hard to meet all of the requirements that the city and state have implemented. Each of us hire local housekeeping and tradesmen to clean and provide maintenance to our units. The point being, this proposal threatens to take away not only our legal small businesses, but also threatens the livelihoods of those who work to support our businesses. I implore you to come to the table with groups like OSTRA, Airbnb, and HIMAS to obtain better data on the actual numbers of short and medium-term rentals. The numbers and data that are being quoted by hotel-affiliated groups and other state agencies is wildly inaccurate. If a host posts their listing, their property, on 4 or 5 different websites such as Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia, you're being told that one property is 4 or 5 properties. Please come to the table with these groups before considering passage of this bill to make sure you're making decisions off of accurate data. I'm sure accurate data would significantly change your opinions on this STR topic. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Kai Lisa Hall on Zoom. Please proceed.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Please proceed.
Mahalo. 95% of all homes available in Hawaii, according to this bill, 95% are available to residents of Hawaii. 5% is what this bill is all about. 5% of all inventory of residential properties are short-term vacation rentals. We need to support our number one industry in the state of Hawaii, which is tourism. I agree with the last speaker that all of the numbers have been manipulated and skewed in favor of getting rid of the short-term rentals. They're not accurate numbers. You're not playing and you're not creating laws based on facts. You're creating laws based on manipulated statistics and numbers. I implore you to go back to the drawing table and get real, accurate, verifiable numbers, because the ones you have in this bill are 100% completely inaccurate. Number two, I agree with Mr. Nakoa when he said that he's from Lahaina and cannot get a short-term rental because of the red tape that happens on every county level. The red tape to allow short-term rentals to become long-term rentals, it takes 1 to 2 years to evict someone here in the state of Hawaii. You've got the worst landlord protections, period. No short-term rental will be turned into a long-term rental with the way that the county runs and the state runs their eviction laws. Thirdly, all of our hearts are completely, totally broken for Maui and what happened in Lahaina. We are devastated by what happened. And I agree with Ms. Rubenstein that every one of us, everyone in Lahaina deserves to have a bill directly to them, not to be added on as a tack end of bills we've been trying to pass for years and years and years.
If you could please summarize, Ms. Hall, please summarize.
An isolated situation, and trying to push these bills on the back of Maui and Lahaina is not the solution. The solution is going back to the drawing table, bringing in accurate numbers, and helping the 5% that are here in the short-term rental community to support our number one industry in Hawaii, tourism. And those of us that do it very well every day, and we support our industry, and we would appreciate it if you would as well. Mahalo and aloha for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have Robert Henry on Zoom. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. I had a pre-written statement that I wanted to present. However, it is going to be modified based on what I've heard today during this testimony. My friends, to start, please let me restate what counsel for the Hawaii Hotel Association said. This is a quote. "We want to reclaim houses for our people." In standing against 1838, that doesn't mean I'm against anything that happened in Maui or I don't support the people of Maui. What I do have a problem with is using what happened in Maui as a legislative tool to violate the Constitution. Counsel for the Association of the Association for the Airbnb group stated that this is against the takings clause. And I hope you guys understand. I don't know who your legal counsel is. I don't know who is advising you. This is absolutely against the Constitution. You can't go in and you cannot just simply unilaterally unwind what has been given to somebody as they purchase something. What I can promise you is that based on what counsel has stated, this is going to be a federal litigated case. And you know what? This is just a pipe dream, because no matter what you do here, my friends, it will be, it's not possible. You can't do it. Yes, we feel bad for everybody, including the gentleman who was in the tent. The Hotel Association, as I said we're reclaiming our properties. However, please look at the financial numbers. Look at what we bring to the table. This is a pipe dream. You're never, ever going to have a chance to win. The people, everything you do is red tape. Everything. The people we deal with have absolutely nothing but terror when they talk about dealing with the red tape in your state. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And you know what? We have to figure a way out so it's a win-win. Yes, teachers need assistance. Yes, people who are there, who are workers, need to understand that they have a place to live. But to use this calamity, this catastrophe as a way to push yourself up isn't going to work, my friends.
If you could please summarize.
Yes, simply Google the reasons and violations of the takings clause, as council said and as the people said. This is not about reclaiming housing for your people. It's all about your money. And we stand down on 1837. We stand by your statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from Julie Hoheb on Zoom. Please proceed. Please unmute yourself and proceed.
Aloha. Thank you so much for having me today. I strongly oppose, as does my family, HB 1838. We are now a second-generation household of owners at the Royal Maui Inn in Kihei. But for our ability to have short-term vacation rentals, we would not be able to afford having our second home that we love and cherish. I plan to retire there within 2 months, and we share our family home with many people. 2 of my friends yesterday on time submitted testimony to talk about the fact that having short-term rentals is an asset to Maui. It brings in tourism. If overall the government is concerned with tax dollars, I can tell you that it's one of the best ways to promote tourism, because not everyone can afford a $600 to $800 per night hotel room. And families want and need to come and share in the aloha culture. As I was reviewing the actual words of 1838, one thing really kind of also stood out to me, and that there is a provision in there that says that in order for you to participate in renting, the host would have to be on premise the entire time, which is, you know, a non-starter for people, almost all people who are renting with vacation rental homes, whether it be a house or a condo. We're doing that for the benefit of other people, for the benefit of bringing families to our beautiful county of Maui. So it's illogical to have a requirement that requires people, the host, to physically be on site while in fact it is being rented as a vacation rental.
If you could please summarize, that'd be great.
I am done with my testimony, and I strongly oppose 1838.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have Riley Bond on Zoom. Please proceed.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify. So I just want to kind of point out that if the community benefits of transient vacation rentals outweighed the impacts, there would be more people in the community in this meeting right now supporting than people who directly benefit financially. And then we're talking about the, you know, how it provides so many jobs. I was a condo cleaner at one point, and it's kind of dehumanizing, to be honest with you. Not to mention how many county and like other jobs that actually serve our community day in and day out. How many, you know, teacher positions are open of these other jobs that people who are kind of tied to the tourism economy for the financial benefit would like to participate in serving their community, but because of the circumstances that we've created. Also, I just want to like touch on the fact that a couple of the previous testimonies have like thrown cheap shots at Lahaina, saying, "Oh, we care about Lahaina, but you know this bill has nothing to do, and we shouldn't attach it to Lahaina." That's super, super disrespectful to even just like think that you're gonna say, "Oh, I support Lahaina, my heart's broken," and then just kind of throw that cheap shot. That hurt me as a long-term, or as someone who's from Lahaina. And also, like, in response to the past testifier, families need to participate in the aloha culture. We need our families to stay here. We need our families who are born and raised here. Majority of Native Hawaiians have been displaced to the mainland, priced out. And so if we're wanting families to enjoy our aloha culture, we need local families here to provide that. And that is not happening right now. Like 25% of our displaced residents from the Lahaina fires have moved off island. So the reason why people come here is not gonna exist if we continue on the path we're on. So I just wanna say I strongly support this bill, and I appreciate the opportunity for testifying. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Maureen Levin on Zoom. Please proceed. Not responding, okay. Let me know if Maureen checks back in. Next, Jason Iser on Zoom. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. I testified before you today with a pressing question that demands an urgent and thoughtful response. How are we supposed to...
Are you
enact-
testifying for a different organization now, or because I don't want to have you twice?
I'm testifying individually, yes.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'll restart. I testified before you today with a pressing question that demands an urgent and thoughtful response. How are we supposed to enact legislation that potentially resolves one problem, but in the process creates another? How are we supposed to accept a bill that, while intended to address Lahaina's housing crisis, will simultaneously shut down operations like mine in Kona, an area wholly unaffected by Lahaina's issues? This situation in Lahaina is indeed distressing, and I empathize deeply with those affected by the housing crisis there. However, the causes and conditions of Lahaina's housing problem are localized and do not mirror the circumstances in Kona or elsewhere in Hawaii County. It is critical to recognize that sweeping regulatory or policy change aimed at mitigating housing issues in Lahaina should not and must not penalize property owners in other parts of the state. The threat of losing non-conforming use certifications and legal use status for rentals in Kona and other parts of the states as a repercussion of troubles on another island is not only deeply unfair, but inherently counterproductive. This one-size-fits-all approach blatantly ignores the diverse economic and housing landscapes across our islands. Therefore, I empathetically urge policymakers to consider targeted, localized solutions to address the specific crisis in Lahaina, crafted with precision to avoid catastrophic unintended consequences for homeowners and rental property owners in other regions. We must collectively seek balanced, equitable solutions that respect the unique context of each community across the state. I call upon you to either defer or oppose House Bill 1838, for it is a bill that fails to consider the full scope of its impact. Let's act with foresight and fairness. Let's reject the notion of indiscriminate legislation. Our state deserves better, our communities deserve better, our citizens deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the last testifier on Zoom, Deb Black. Please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I do. Please proceed.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to testify today. I am here to oppose Bill HB 1838. This bill will grant counties authority to enact zoning ordinances at their will. This is wrong and illegal. All vacation homes are at mercy of a few people given permission to speak for many people. This is illegal, morally wrong, and it sure is not democracy. Only 5% of homes in Hawaii are deemed vacation homes. 95% of homes in Hawaii are personal homes. This bill does not represent the people of Hawaii. Giving zoning laws at will to a few people does not represent the citizens of Hawaii. This is taking away property rights of the owners, which is illegal. You have no right to dictate to Hawaii citizens what they will do with their property, referring to vacation rentals. Leave the zoning as is. I do not support this bill. Also, those in support of the bill so far seem to be with some sort of government. Also, especially the previous speakers, one of them, representing the bill, the hotel business. This is not representing the people of Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so no more testifiers on Zoom. Thank you to all the testifiers on Zoom. We have one more person in the room that said they wanted to testify, and that'll be our last testifier. Sir, come on up and introduce yourself and proceed.
Aloha, Chair Tarnas, Vice Chair Takayama, honorable members of the committee. Mahalo for agendizing this bill and for what was no doubt another riveting hearing on the topic of short-term rentals. For the record, on behalf of the American Hotel and Lodging Association and the 110,000 member employees of our organization, we are in strong support of HB 1838. It would be challenging to try and summarize the myriad feelings and the copious positions, legal and otherwise, that we heard today.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Please turn off and mute yourself on Zoom. Thank you.
May I continue, Chair?
Yeah, continue.
I'll say this, Chair, that for AHLA and our partners at the Hawaii Hotel Alliance, this is and always has been about two really important things: the integrity of our visitor industry and the people that work in and around it. Simply put, our members cannot afford housing. And they can't afford housing in large part because of the impact of illegal short-term rentals on the housing market in Hawaii. The Hawaii Tourism Authority did a great job of understanding and reaching out to the communities around what really matters in the visitor industry. And in every county's demapping process, illegal short-term rentals and short-term rentals altogether were found to be, if not the number one of the top concerns of Kama'aina. And you can graph out the rampant rise in short-term rentals and the decline in the relationship between Kama'aina and the visitor industry. In the last 8 years, Chair, our counties have attempted no fewer than 11 times to address short-term rentals, and yet short-term rentals have increased and continue to proliferate. And to be clear, this measure does not do anything other than enable our counties to do what they do best: take care of their people. Thank you for your time and for your strong consideration of supporting this measure.
Thank you. If you could restate your name and the name of your organization.
Yes, Chair. Kekoa McClellan on behalf of the American Hotel and Lodging Association.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Okay, so that's all. There being no further testifiers, let me ask if there are questions from members. I have one question for the Hawaii Realtors.
Hello, can I speak, please?
Oh, who's this?
This is Ralph Furley.
What's it? Okay, all right, we're gonna take one more testifier and this will be it, because I'm a nice guy. So if you, whoever this is, RF iPhone, if you could introduce yourself and testify, that would be great, and then we'll move on to questions.
Thank you so much, sir. My name is Ralph Furley, and I oppose HB 1838. So let me just clarify and put things into perspective. We're talking about short-term. Short-term is defined as anything under 30 days, and the hotels basically are taking care of those residents or those people who come here, because typically tourists come to the islands on the average for a 12-day stay. The reason why we're opposing HB 1838 is for anything from month-to-month rentals all the way to 180 days. Think about all the essential workers that come here to Oahu are not going to be kept up or locked up in a hotel for up to 90 days or 2 months without a kitchen. Or how about the workers that come here that are not essential but are working on the rail system or other projects here on island for a short period of time, like let's say 90 days, between 30 and 90 days. That cost of being in a hotel for $350 a night with $20 parking each night is going to pass on that expense to us. So the inflation is going to increase dramatically. The other problem is, how about those families, and I'm talking about local families here, that have a housing upgrade or have they have mold, or they have to relocate because there's something wrong with their property while it's getting fixed. Do you think they're going to host a family in a hotel at $350 a night until the house gets upgraded or repaired? That's not going to happen, because you're going to hurt we're hurting our own residents.
If you could please summarize, sir, please summarize.
And how about the local families that have visitors coming here to help take care of them, okay? You think that they can afford to stay in a hotel for a couple of months? That is unreasonable.
Thank you. Please summarize, sir.
Yeah, so in essence, this is not right. We have the hotels that take care of people for less than 30 days. We have the midterm rentals that take care of 30 days to 180 days, and we have the long-term rentals.
Thank you.
We need to have variety. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Okay, that's it, all the testimony. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's testimony and your patience. Now, let's go to questions. I have a question for the Hawaii Realtors. In one testimony from the Honolulu Board of Realtors, they said this will only affect about less than 103 properties. testimony from Colleen Maderos said it'll affect maybe 168 properties on Maui. And I'm wondering whether you've done any analysis to determine how many properties would actually be affected by this in each of the counties.
Thank you, Chair. Lindsay Garcia again for Hawaii Realtors. I appreciate your question. I understand that Honolulu Board of Realtors did the analysis for their county. We can ask the other local boards to do an analysis for their counties as well.
Yeah, I think it would be really useful for everybody to know how many are actually going to be affected by this, how many non-conforming use permits have been issued for short-term vacation rentals so that we have accurate data. I appreciate everyone saying we got to use accurate data. So if you could assist us with that, that'd be great.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, members? Representative Evslin.
Yeah, I have a question for the representative from Airbnb. Was it Joseph? Or yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, thanks for being here. So would you characterize any, if this bill were to pass, would you characterize any phase out by the counties regardless of, say, over a 20-year period, they were phasing out non-conforming rentals? Would you consider any phase out unconstitutional?
That's a very complicated factual issue and obviously would depend upon the specifics. As I mentioned earlier, one of the key factors in looking at that is what are the reasonable investment-backed expectations that a property owner has made via their expenditures. Those could be things like remodeling, taking out mortgages, which certainly could last beyond 20 years. So obviously everybody's going to have a different standard as to how it impacts them based upon their own investment-backed expectations. But even a 20-year would impact people who, for example, it's a permitted use today, they took out a mortgage today, they remodeled their house to allow increase use of the property or something along those lines. You could see where they would still argue that that was an improper taking because it interfered with their reasonable investment-backed expectations. That's why we say that this is going to lead to litigation if, the legislature were to go down this path and allow the counties to kind of make these kind of determinations. So it's not a bright line rule. It really comes down to, like I said, sort of how each individual would be impacted based upon what their personal history is with their property. But it would almost certainly lead to somebody, probably significant categories of people challenging.
And I guess as a follow-up to that, can you envision a possibility for the counties to do this in a way that was not unconstitutional, to keep it narrow enough?
Yeah, I mean, presumably there is a certain time period that could be achieved in terms of how it's described and, as far as what's allowed and how far out in the future. Obviously, I can't speak to every single factual scenario to say what works, everybody's going to have a different expectation. And so there's, you probably expect there would be some kind of challenge no matter what number is picked. Obviously, the shorter the number as far as an amortization, the more people are going to be impacted and the more people are going to challenge. If you picked more than 30 years, obviously that would presumably be less people that would be impacted as far as the length of an amortization. But that really comes down to a takings analysis and looking at what each individual person who's made that investment has invested and how their how the regulation reduces their ability to use the property under its prior lawful use that has now been made unlawful by the amortization.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? If not, I want to say thank you very much to all the testifiers on House Bill 1838 HD1. We're going to move on to the other bills on our agenda, and we will do decision-making on this measure along with all the other measures at the end of the agenda. So that's the plan. Let's now move on to House Bill 2007 relating to housing. This measure allows religious institutions, educational institutions, and medical institutions to build dwelling units on lands within the state urban land use district under certain conditions. Please talk outside in the hallway. Please be so kind as to talk out in the hallway. Thanks. Okay, first up, we have testimony from the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. Please come on up to the podium so everyone out there in TV land can see you.
Excuse me, Craig Hurai, Executive Assistant at the HHFDC. The HHFDC stands on its written testimony and support.
I'm always going to ask you to highlight your main points of your testimony for those that didn't have a chance to read it.
Oh, it just allows more housing on land that will be made available for it by these institutions.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from Curtis Lum, Department of Planning and Permitting. Nope, not here, okay. Next, we have testimony from, looks like actually that's all who said they would be here to testify. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other testimonies in writing in person. Excuse me, 6 other testimonies in support in writing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. 7 other in support in writing. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2007? If not, questions, members? If not, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Next bill, House Bill 2336, relating to hemp. This makes imposition of the fine penalty applicable to any violation of the commercial hemp production licensure requirement, as well as restrictions on growing and transporting hemp. It repeals the requirement for additional rules by the Department of Agriculture to address nuisance issues, including smell, noise, and excessive lighting arising out of the activities of hemp growers. And it clarifies that DOA shall not require testing or sampling of hemp that duplicates testing and sampling required by U.S. Department of Agriculture. First up, we have testimony from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture in support. Not present. Anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2336? If not, questions are not able to be asked of anybody, so let's move on. House Bill 1782 relating to hemp. This makes a conforming amendment to allow the Department of Health or its designee to conduct criminal history record checks on applicants for hemp processor permits. On this one, we have testimony from the Department of Health. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Hi, my name is Greg Edwards with Department of Health, Office of Medical Cannabis Control and Regulation. Good afternoon. Thanks for having this meeting.
Thanks for your patience in waiting for testimony. Yeah, go ahead.
Understandable. The department stands in support of this measure. Just quickly summarize, in order to process hemp into allowable products, the Department of Health requires a permit. The legislature requires that a permit be issued by the Department of Health. One of the criteria is that you satisfy a background check. There's 2 ways you can satisfy that background check. One is that you're a USDA licensed hemp grower, and during the application process to obtain a processing permit, you submit that, no further background check for them. The other way is if you don't have a USDA growing license and you want to still process hemp, you have to consent to a background check. This bill is simply adding conforming language to another statute that gives us the authority to look at and verify that the applicant doesn't have a disqualifying conviction.
Great.
Available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony with comments from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Dexter Kishida, Deputy at Hawaii Department of Agriculture. We stand on our testimony excuse me, in support of the intent of this bill, but defer to the Department of Health's comments. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1782? If not, questions, members? I have one question for the Department of Health. Chapter 328G is set to be repealed on July 1, 2027. It seems like we should similarly repeal this act on that date as well to be consistent. Does that make sense to you?
You're referring to 846-2.7, or are you referring to 328G?
328G.
Okay, so that's going to be repealed in 2027.
Yes.
And
so should we insert language into this bill to similarly repeal the act if this passes into law on that same date?
Yeah, I guess any language that is inserted into HRS 846 2.7, which this bill is addressing, then should be repealed if the entire, if the 328G would be repealed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, members? If not, thank you. We'll move on to the next measure. House Bill 1542 relating to land use between July 1, 2024 and December 31st, 2026. This measure authorizes each county planning commission to petition for the redistricting of land from the agricultural to the rural district through the Land Use Commission's declaratory ruling process, and this measure would sunset December 31st, 2027. First up, we have testimony from the Department of Agriculture. Mr. Kushida, please proceed.
Thank you very much. So the department offers comments on this bill. It may have been a long week so far, huh? The department offers comments. One thing I would like to highlight is that we respectfully request the counties who take advantage of the provisions of this measure to consider concurrent revisions in the respective ordinances just to keep alignment. We find that sometimes there's definitely misalignment at the county level. But that is the really main point that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have testimony from the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Katia Balaciano with the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. The OPSD is in support of this bill. It allows counties to efficiently address existing nonconforming agricultural district lands. For example, those in the Puna District of Hawaii County, which have existing large residential subdivisions that we believe should be reclassified to the rural district. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from the State of Hawaii Land Use Commission. Mr. Derrickson, welcome. Please proceed.
Aloha kako. Scott Derrickson, Chief Planner, State Land Use Commission. We'll stand on our written testimony, but I will indicate that we do have issues with the use of the declaratory ruling process outlined in the bill. And we want you to be well aware that adopting new rules to implement such a process will take quite a bit of time and eat a huge chunk out of the time frame that you guys have outlined in this bill. I'm available for questions, though.
Thank you. Any other, let me continue with the testifiers, then we'll come back for questions. Next, we have testimony from Jackie Keith. Not present. And we received written testimony from 3 other individuals in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in House Bill 1542? If not, questions, members? If not, Mr. Derrickson, I have a question for you. Your comment about not being much time left after you do rulemaking, your testimony estimates that rulemaking would take approximately 8 months, or at least 8 months. That would push the start date for petitions under this process into early 2025. So it would, is that accurate?
That's a best case scenario, I think, for adopting administrative rules based on our experience, and I think those of other state agencies.
So in best case scenario, we would end up having 2 years and potentially less under the timeline that's set in this bill?
Correct.
Okay. And then last question, what are declaratory rulings and what's the declaratory ruling process usually used for?
Okay, it's a great question. Declaratory rulings are based on HRS Chapter 91, which is the Administrative Procedure Law. It allows most agencies to do declaratory rulings. In our specific case, it allows the LUC to interpret issues associated specifically with Chapter 205, the State Land Use Law, or the LUC administrative rules, or LUC orders in our district boundary amendment or special permit procedures. These are based on specific factual circumstances where we're asked to interpret how those laws, administrative rules, or our orders play out in the real world. DR's declaratory rulings are not contested case procedures by nature. I believe that's why some people have been supporting using this process rather than a district boundary amendment process, because they think it's going to be faster because it's not a contested case process. When we change the district boundaries, we are affecting property rights.
So let me ask a follow-up question, since you've sort of gone off on a description of how you could use declaratory rulings for this process. Would there be some, I mean, in order to protect an applicant's, petitioner's rights for due process and any other individual who would want to weigh in order to protect their rights to due process, in a declaratory ruling, how would you handle that? Would there be a possibility of a contested case hearing on a declaratory ruling process?
So, okay, so in a declaratory ruling process, again, it's a petitioner who's coming in and asking us to interpret
Yes.
statute, rule, or one of our orders. And they can ask us to do a contested case process.
So only the petitioner would be able
Right.
to ask?
But what you're really talking about here is you're talking about large legacy agricultural subdivisions
Right, so if
with
the-
many owners.
Would the owners of those subdivisions that the county would seek to reclassify as rural, would they have a right to request a contested case hearing in this declaratory ruling process?
Probably, yes.
They would, okay.
Right. Each individually.
Each individual.
Yeah.
So so as we consider this measure, we should keep in mind that though it's called a declaratory ruling process, it could very well be inclusive of a contested case hearing process as well.
Yeah, it could be. And what I want to point out, though, is that this bill, the way it's worded, it wants to use a declaratory ruling process, and it asks the commission to make a decision within 365 days. Okay? The district boundary amendment process that we already have in statute, okay, the counties are already allowed to petition the Land Use Commission for district boundary changes for both public and private lands. That's in HRS Chapter 205-4. That process, it's a contested case process, requires all the necessary background studies, and the decision needs to be made in 365 days. Okay? There's nothing stopping a county planning agency from putting forward such a petition, and there's nothing stopping a county planning agency working with the State Office of Planning and Sustainable Development to work together and develop and submit a petition to address these kinds of legacy agricultural subdivisions.
Okay.
Wouldn't require us to adopt new rules for a new procedure, you know, basically trying to shoehorn something in. There's already an existing procedure to do it.
Thank you.
And will cover all the legal bases that way, too.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it. Any other questions, members? Yes, Representative Eslin.
Would the district boundary amendment process require every individual property owner to sign off on it in some capacity?
No, it would not. The petitioner, the county could bring a petition for this large area with, you know, let's say 100 owners. And ideal world, the county would go out and canvass these owners and ask them how many of them voluntarily would like to have their property reclassified from ag to rural. That's what this bill is talking about. There would be an opt-out option. There would be some who'd say, no, I don't want my land to be reclassified, my 1 acre, my 2 acre parcel. And they could proceed with a large reclassification based on those people who are voluntarily willing to let the county carry the water and do this reclassification process, and there'll be some people who may opt out. Likewise, those folks can take advantage of becoming an intervener in the process if they disagree as well. So they'd have a contested case process to be involved in.
And what about those who don't respond?
Those who don't respond, I can only tell you that in the past, when this occurred back in the 70s, those who don't respond, their property remained in the existing land use district boundary.
And then would the difference, though, with HB 1542 is that that they wouldn't need the express authority of the property owner? So say those who don't respond.
Under a district boundary amendment?
No, under the changes to, with the changes on HB 1542, with the
declaratory ruling process.
I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I think that's something that one of our deputy AGs would have to wrestle with.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that I think that the cleaner process, one that would be more efficient time-wise, would be the existing district boundary amendment process that's out there now, rather than trying to utilize the DR process for something it's not designed for, and having us have to go through rulemaking process just to get to that point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, members?
I guess I do have a question for OPSD.
Okay, please proceed.
Thanks, Katia, for being here. Do you folks, I know you folks supported this bill. Do you see any benefit to the declaratory ruling process over a district boundary amendment?
I think that we do see benefits to the DEC ruling process. As Mr. Derrickson said, there is a process right now, but the counties aren't using it. So if the counties aren't using it and the folks who live there aren't using it, you have to ask what's wrong with that process such that people aren't using it. And I think that ultimately converting properties that are non-conforming now into something that's conforming will help those future property owners get permits faster, easier, to just live their lives without having to be in this kind of in-between ground. So I think that there is worth to it. I agree that the creating of rules is cumbersome, not sure where that will end up, but I think that some sort of process to facilitate this conversion would be appropriate.
And so from my understanding, I had heard that the issues with district boundary amendments would be the difficulty of getting all these property owners to sign off on it, and the likely just non-response. I think there's potentially thousands of parcels on the Big Island that could be reclassified under this. Other than that, do you see any other benefits to the declaratory ruling process over a district boundary amendment for this particular case?
I also don't think that it should probably be done on a piecemeal basis. So if you go through the district boundary amendment process instead of what is being proposed now, as Mr. Derrickson said, people can opt out, and then you have this, scattered, spot, you'd call it spot zoning, that doesn't really achieve what I think that this legislation is intended to, and that is to have our state land use districts mirror what is currently within the county long-range plans.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? If not, thanks very much to the testifiers. Let's move on. House Bill 1554 relating to aquatic resources. This measure expands the Department of Land and Natural Resources rulemaking authority to include any rule to impose restrictions or requirements deemed necessary to protect certain aquatic life. There's a few more sentences to read, but I'll leave it at that and ask our first testifier, Brian Nielsen, Department of Land and Natural Resources. Come on up to testify. Thank you.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Brian Nielsen on behalf of Department of Land and Natural Resources. We provided written testimony in support of this measure. So this bill would expand our adaptive management rulemaking authority to respond to rapidly changing resource conditions. So essentially, this would allow us to use fishery management tools like catch limits, the size of catch, seasonal harvest, rules to either make new rules or repeal new rules in order to be more adaptive to our management. There's still guardrails in this bill. It would still need to go to the land board for approval. It's subject to public notice. We are required to reach out to specific stakeholders that would be affected, and it automatically sunsets after 2 years unless we take it back to the legislature and the land board. So we are in support of this measure and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've received written testimony and support from Kua, Olan Fisher, from Miloli'i Makai Watch, and also from an individual, Uilani Naipo. Is there anyone here or on Zoom wishing to testify on HB 1554? If not, questions, members? Nope, seeing none. Thank you very much for your testifiers. Thanks, Dr. Nielsen, for your patience, for being here this whole time. Okay, final bill is House Bill 1923 HD1 relating to camps. This measure allows overnight camps in operation prior to January 1, 1961 to be regulated via the special permit process. First up, we have testimony with comments from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I should expound on our slightly mysterious testimony that presents comments that pretty much just repeated the bill. As is, there's no additional harm to agriculture. So that's just kind of why we left it as comments. But we are watching this closely to ensure that language doesn't get reinserted to allow for sprawl of these overnight campgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much for helping us understand the mysterious testimony. Next, we have testimony from the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good afternoon, Katia Balaciano with OPSD. We are in support of this measure. We agree that the prohibition against overnight camps should be retained in the state ag district. We recognize the benefits of overnight camps, and we also appreciate that the existing camps that existed prior to 1961 should be able to continue to operate. We see that there's a difference between the Boy Scout camps and those kinds of camps that have been in operation for a long time versus, perhaps the newer camps that would come online and have a slightly different focus, more like a hotel kind of thing, which we would not support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from Rory Frampton in support with the recommended amendment. I want to read this because he recommends an amendment. He said that Camp Maluhia and Camp Olowalu actually were established after the date that was mentioned in this bill, and so he is requesting an amendment to add language that said, provided that overnight camps that were lawfully existing prior to March 1st, 2023 may be authorized by special permit. That March 1st, 2023 apparently is the date of that Supreme Court ruling. So just so everyone knows, that's what he's recommending in his amendment coming from the Maui perspective. Okay, next we have testimony from Blake Parsons, Boy Scouts of America, or his representative.
Bob Toyofuku, I'll testify in support on behalf of Blake Parsons for the Aloha Council Boy Scouts. And he was here but had to leave. I am not familiar with when Camp Maluhia was started. And I would have to check with him in terms of the amendment. I think, I don't know, Representative Ichiyama, passed the bill, so it looked like the HD1 was fine.
Okay.
Okay,
We
thank
may
you.
have questions, but go ahead. Thank you very much for your testimony. And next we have testimony from Dustin Tester, Maui Surfer Girls, in support. Please proceed on Zoom.
Hi there. Hi, everybody.
My name is Dustin Tester, and I'm the owner of Maui Surf for Girls. And I definitely support Camp Olawalo being able to continue to get their special use permit. Yeah, just on behalf of our loyal staff of 20 years and campers that have attended our programs, we feel that, you know, mental health and outdoor education program is needed more than ever right now. So we're hoping that we can continue to offer our programs. In fact, in January, we scholarshiped 3 Lahaina fire victims to come to our program at Maui Surf for Girls. And we just really think that, you know, as far as historical context, Olawalo has been a pu'uhonoa since Hawaiian days. And I was a 10-year-old that attended camps at Camp Olawalo. So it has been a refuge for myself, my family, and the family of Maui Surf for Girls for 25 years almost. And we hope to continue our legacy there at Camp Olawalo.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1923, HD1? Mr. Derrickson first, and then to you next. Please proceed.
Aloha again. Scott Derrickson, State Land Use Commission. First of all, we appreciate the work of the House Water and Land and the Ag and Food Systems Committees in addressing the concerns raised by numerous parties at the last hearing. HD1 appeared to clear up all those issues. Protection of bona fide agricultural uses in the state ag district while recognizing and grandfathering existing legal uses that existed prior to the state land use law. But now we got some testimony saying, oh, wait a minute, we're off on a date. So you need to amend it to 2023. I don't think we would support that. I think you probably need to get better information about when Camp Maluhia
Actually, it was, if I want to
established.
correct myself, it was Camp Kilohana Girl Scouts and Camp Olowalu that were originated or expanded into the Ag District after 1961. So those are the two. I misspoke earlier. So
Okay.
it's Camp Kilohana and Camp Olowalu that are the ones that this testimony is referring to.
Okay, if that's the case, then I think you need, if you're going to create an exception, which is, we support you guys making a decision and carving out an exception for certain camps, but get the date right. Don't make it 2023, because then you're going to grandfather in a bunch of uses out there that we may not even know about. And I think that would be a problem.
Okay.
The other thing, it's a nitpicky type of thing, but you know, sometimes details matter, especially if later on there's legal action and they start looking back at how you guys came to, you know, changing the law in a certain way. The preamble section, in section 1, it starts off by saying this ruling reverses a prior Supreme Court opinion. I don't think what the HD1 is doing is actually reversing the decision. It's really creating, as I said, a very specific exemption in 205-4.5 to allow for camps existing prior to enactment of the state land use law in 1961 to continue to operate under approved state special permits, right? Okay, that's what the HD1 says. So if you change it to, you know, what Mr. Frampton is asking, I think it's going to open up, it's going to basically grandfather everything that might be out there that we don't know about. So be careful about how you carve out the exemptions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much for your testimony. And ma'am, you're next.
Looks like mine didn't get in time, so I'm going to read it real quick. It's short. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Dr. Kanoi Naone, and I'm the CEO for the Girl Scouts of Hawaii as of January. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. So in 1917, Queen Liliuokalani sponsored the first 2 troops in Hawaii, and we are the oldest chapter west of the Mississippi, so we have a great tradition here. Our camps are specifically implemented around the life skills and outdoors. Without overnight camping opportunities, we'd not be able to provide learning opportunities around our 2 of our 4 core pillars. I'm going to kind of pass through that, make sure that this gets submitted for you folks, but basically, we have 3 camps in that would be considered under this. So Camp Paumalu is located on the north shore of Oahu and has been ours and in operation since 1951. So it's it's before the 61 timeframe. And we recently put in $8.5 million for the STEM Center of Excellence up there. And we have about 1,000 campers statewide at our camps. In actuality, Camp Kilohana on the Big Island has been in existence since 1954, so the information you had before isn't quite there. Now, Camp Piholo on Maui, was actually gifted to us in 1962 by the Baldwin family, so that might be where the discrepancy was, except for that we were using it as early as the 1930s. We just didn't own the land until 1962. And then we also rent Camp Sloggett on Kauai in Kokee on a regular basis. That's where our folks go. So I'm not going to belabor this. I just want to say that I stand in strong support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HB 1923 HD1? If not, questions, members? Yes, Representative Miyake, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for considering this proposed amendment by Mr. Frampton. The amendment is necessary to ensure all camps that would, I'm sorry, it's a comment.
You going to ask a question? I just had a comment. Oh, why don't you hold your comment until we do decision making? I'm sorry. Yeah, no worries, no worries. You're still getting used to this process. Yes. Yeah. No. We'll hold your comments until decision making, yeah. Any other questions for testifiers? If not, I want to say thank you to all the testifiers. We're going to now move forward to decision making. We're all eager to hear what Mr. Miyake has to say when we get to that bill. But let's get to the other bills first. Suspense. Okay, House Bill 1838 relating to zoning. I read carefully and listened to the testimony, and I appreciate there's great concern about how this might affect some people's livelihood. I was very interested to read in the testimony estimates that this would affect less than 103 properties on Oahu and perhaps 168 properties on Maui. I think we need to get more data on this, so I appreciate the Hawaii Realtors following up and trying to get us some hard data on that. I also read carefully the concerns about constitutionality. I did check with the Attorney General's office, and I would like to tell you what I learned so that you all know about this whole issue of constitutionality. The AG's office said that HB 1838 allows the counties to provide for amortization of short-term rentals over a reasonable period of time. The AG's office did not find there to be a concern with the constitutionality of this bill. They said that they understand the testimony on this bill raised concerns regarding the potential for this bill to lead to unconstitutional situations. The potential for the county to exercise this regulatory ability unconstitutionally in the future does not, however, render the immediate bill unconstitutional. Furthermore, the constitutionality of future ordinances will depend on the specific circumstances, but it is absolutely possible for the counties to enact constitutional ordinances phasing out short-term rentals. See Levin Richmond Terminal Corp. Versus City of Richmond, in which it states legislation may validly provide for the eventual termination of non-conforming property uses without compensation if it provides a reasonable amortization period commensurate with the investment involved, end quote. See also Nekroloff v. City of Jersey City, which states affirmed dismissal of claim that ordinance that curtailed short-term rentals constituted a taking. Okay, the testimony's additional argument that the law could be subject to a challenge as a, quote, special law, end quote, in violation of Article 11, Section 5 of the Hawaii Constitution is incorrect. That provision only applies to legislative power over lands, quote, owned by or under the control of the state and its political subdivisions, end quote. See Sierra Club v. Department of Transportation, which determined that Act 2 was an exercise of legislative power over state land. Private property used to operate short-term rentals are not government property, nor under the control of the government, so that constitutional provision is inapplicable. So that's a recommendation and the legal analysis we got from Department of Attorney General. And so based on all of that, I recommend we move this bill out with technical amendments only. HB 1838 HD1, technical amendments only. Questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1838, House Draft 2, Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Evslin?
Aye.
Representative Ganadin? Aye. Representative Holt, excused. Representative Ichiyama? Aye. Representative Iligan, excused. Representative Kong? No vote. No vote for Representative Kong. Representative Miyake? Aye. Representative Souza?
No vote.
No vote for Representative Souza. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next bill, House Bill 2007 HD2. I have some concerns about the bill, but I'd like to keep it going. It has a defective date, but I would like to continue the discussion, so I'd like to move this out with technical amendments only. Questions or concerns, members? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2007, House Draft 3, noting the excused absences of Representatives Holt and Iligan. Any reservations or noes? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. House Bill 2336 HD1. I recommend we move this out as is. Questions or concerns, members? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2336, House Draft 1, passing as is. Any reservations or noes? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. House Bill 1782 HD1. On this measure, I would like to move it out with amendments. Technical amendments. In addition, I would like to insert language to repeal this act on July 1st, 2027, so that it is consistent with the repeal date in statute for Chapter 328G. So those are my recommendations that would be included here. So it's technical amendments plus the amendment I just described. Questions or concerns, members? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1782, House Draft 2. Any reservations or noes? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. House Bill 1542 HD1. This was a very illuminating discussion in questions, and I would like, there's real interest to move this bill forward, and so I will accommodate that. It is a defective bill with a defective, it's got a defective effective date. I would like to move it forward with technical amendments only, but I would like to really urge Office of Planning and Sustainable Development and the Land Use Commission to include in their testimony in future hearings some of the discussion that you included in your responses to questions, because I think that would help future committees, including, if this makes it through the Senate, the conference committee, make the right choice on this bill. Because I think there was perhaps some misunderstanding about what the declaratory ruling process really includes in terms of due process, et cetera, and the timing, and what benefit this might include. So I would urge you to include that in your testimony rather than having to pull it out through questions and answers. So with that in mind, I would like to move HB 1542 HD1 with technical amendments. Questions or concerns, members? Representative Evslin.
Yeah, I appreciate this moving forward. I do think it's an important measure, as this is certainly a major issue for Hawaii County that needs to be cleaned up, and I think we do need some changes to statute to clean it up. But I just want to recognize that I hear the Land Use Commission's concerns regarding the rulemaking process, and that it might be too little runway here by the time the rules are done to actually do it through declaratory ruling. I certainly support it continuing to go forward for continued dialogue, but just want to throw out that I think there is another option out there, which would be to give the counties the authority to do a boundary amendment, given the caveats that are listed in this bill, right, for contiguous ag parcels when there's 20 more or more of them, et cetera, for a limited period of time. Just throwing it out there as a sort of third option, but I support this.
That's a different bill.
Oh, am I on the wrong bill here?
No. But
Oh.
if we wanted to make.
Yeah, no, I'm
those
not saying we
things-
should amend that. I'm just saying, you know, for continued dialogue, yes, let's go, but if this were to die, then maybe over the interim, we can work on a third option here.
Yeah,
But,
great idea for an alternative route, but, yeah, not in this bill.
No, totally understood. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, other comments or questions? Okay, House Bill 1554, or excuse me, House Bill 1542, HD1 with technical amendments. Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1542, House Draft 2. Any reservations or noes? Reservations for Representative Kong. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. House Bill 1554, HD1, I recommend we move this out as is. Questions or concerns, members? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1554, House Draft 1, passing as is. Any reservations or noes?
Reservations.
Reservations for Representative Souza. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Last bill, House Bill 1923, HD1. My recommendation is to move this out as is, and I would urge Mr. Frampton to work with the Girl Scouts to get the dates correct and make sure that it's accurate information, because I share the concern of the Land Use Commission about picking a date without accurate information, because it could have unintended consequences. So with that in mind, I would recommend that we move out HB 1923 HD1 as is. Questions or concerns, members? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1923, House Draft 1, passing as is. Reservations or noes? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. There being no further business before this committee, we are adjourned.